and really grateful to be able to be here with you all. I was um, planning to be on an airplane this afternoon, and due to or evening, and due to weather, was knocked around. So I'm very glad to see you all and to be stable and stationed here with you, and to invite in our special guest in just a few minutes. But to get us started, maybe we can all just give a little welcome. I see we're already doing some of that in the chat. A little hello, share where you're coming from. Sometimes we share the weather, but I hope that everyone is staying warm if you're not in a warm place. I see Lakeville, Massachusetts, near Boston over here, Eugene, Oregon. Chilly but sunny. Then we've got the Hudson Valley, Atlanta, Manhattan, Westchester, New York, Winchester, Mass. Some very familiar faces and some new folks. Warm welcome to all. Wonderful. Chicago, waiting for the storm. New York City, 80 here in Tampa Bay, Florida. Queens Village, New York. Wonderful. So we are coming in from really all over the country. And I see London, Canada, Toronto, Sweden. So really all over across the Atlantic, all over the continent. Wonderful. Gloucester, Mass. Welcome. So good to see everyone here and nursing a sleepy baby. I tried to get mine to sleep, but he was not about it. He was bouncing around, very excited. So wonderful. It's good to land here with you all. So I'd like to take a minute to just land even further and maybe deepen our connection with ourselves. Often what we're doing here in Women Together is deepening our sense of connection to ourselves and our connection to each other. In just a little bit after our practice with our guests, we'll move into some breakouts, and that's an opportunity for us to really feel the magic of being connected to each other in this community. So we'll have about an hour together here today till 1 p.m. Eastern. And we'll just enjoy our time here together. So to deepen, we'll just land in our bodies. And if you can, just feel your feet on the floor. If you're seated, you can uncross your legs and just feel your feet on the ground. Then perhaps close your eyes or lower your gaze. Often we want to just soften the gaze because we spend so much time focusing our attention on something or kind of being aware of our surroundings. And for this moment, we just soften the gaze to the outer world and just experience being fully here, fully present in this body, on this earth body, in this place, in this moment. So I'll just invite you to take a breath in and notice the feeling of the breath moving in through the nostrils, into the chest, into the lungs. And then exhaling all the way out. Just following that breath for a few moments here together. And just noticing if your attention starts to wander off to the next thing or what just came before, just letting go as if you can put those things on a cloud and just kind of let it float away. Wonderful. And then as you start to come back to connection with the space here, maybe you have a word or a phrase of what brought you here today. So just considering for a moment, what brought you to this Women Together Connect today? What brought you here? And you can just put a word or a phrase in the chat. And as you do that, I will introduce our guest for today, which I'm very excited to have her with us. I see we're already typing in the chat. We've got warm connection that we're looking for, positivity, searching, peace, curious, new beginnings, hope, the topic. Wonderful. So I'll share a little bit about Nancy, who she's a longtime student of Eastern spirituality. She's a psychotherapist and interfaith minister, and the author of The Emotionally Exhausted Woman: Why You're Feeling Depleted and How to Get What You Need. And I think that is needed now more than ever. Even though it came out in 2002, I think we are definitely needing this work.
21.
So 2021.
2022.
2022. Perfectly
Yeah.
timed.
Yes.
Perfectly timed, Nancy. Thank you. So glad that you wrote it, because this is exactly what we need. And just, for those of you who may have not experienced Nancy yet, she's a thought leader. She's a national speaker on women's empowerment, well-being, mindful technology. She's been on Good Morning America, in the New York Times, and countless other media. She's a regular blogger for Psychology Today, and she's also spent 25 years as a nationally top-ranked equestrian and serves as a performance consultant to professional artists and athletes. So we are so lucky to have you here with us today, Nancy. It's really absolutely wonderful, the work that you do, and the what you've written. It just really is inspirational for so many of us who really, as I said, need this now more than ever. So I see we're also looking for community, needing more acceptance, finding these sessions inspiring. So we're looking for inspiration and just being women who are opening our hearts. So thank you for being here, and I turn it over to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Antoinette. That's wonderful. And I'm delighted to be here. And the book actually that might be of interest to this group is a book that I wrote in 2021, which is Can't Stop Thinking. And it's about sort of obsessive rumination and worry. So that is kind of what we're here to talk about today. As we know, this is no new information, but we're living in this time of just great anxiety, just tremendous anxiety. And there's a lot to be worried about that's real. I made the bad decision to turn on the news last night, and the newscaster was actually saying, you should be worried, which was sort of an interesting, now we're actually being instructed to be worried. But a lot of us are riding on this worry train. And if we weren't already a kind of anxious what-ifer, if we weren't a catastrophizer, boy, a lot of us have jumped on board that train, right? How many people resonate with that? A lot of catastrophizing and what-ifing. I'm on the train sometimes. And, we sort of worry becomes a habit. It actually becomes a habit. And so we live kind of moving from one disaster to another, a potential disaster, potential what if. And the truth is, a lot of it doesn't exist in real life. It exists in our head. And I think of often that line that is supposedly Mark Twain said, but he said, I'm an old man and I've lived a great number of troubles, and most of them never happened. So we can get kind of addicted to, it becomes a habit of this kind of sky is always falling. I have a member of my family who is a kind of Chicken Little. There's always something that's like, about to happen that is a disaster. And even, in my therapy practice, I have many clients who, they have a pain in their foot and they start getting their affairs in order. It's certainly got to be, the end of their life. Or a woman right now who just made top performer in her company, and she just obsesses all the time on how she's going to lose her job. Things like this. I mean, they're not really out of the norm these days. Our trigger, our anxiety is on high alert. We're kind of in that above red. I don't know what goes above red. Purple, hot purple. We're turned up to 11. Let's put it that way. And underneath, to some degree, underneath all our fear, because we want to have a lot of compassion for our fear. Our fear is real, that we are living in a world that feels even more unsteady or impermanent or unreliable than maybe it ever has. And when we're in these worry loops, we are mistakenly, in some way, neurologically imagining that we're taking care of ourselves and that this is going to make us feel better. I mean, at the end of the day, that worrying and worrying and worrying will help us. And what we're, to some degree, what we're really trying to do is protect, make sure that we're not blindsided. When we worry, we get caught in these loops of what if, what if, what if. We're trying to be prepared. I'm going to pull my camera down just a bit. We're trying to be combat ready, if you will, and to protect ourselves ultimately. So we rehearse these potential disasters in our mind so that when they come, we'll know what to do. And, really, we are, at the end of the day, we're really just frightening ourselves. That's what we're doing. We're frightening ourselves. And we're taking ourselves out of the present moment. That's what we're doing. And it's not getting at this underlying fear of the real instability and real unknown that is present for us in 2025. And part of our looping on negative things and worry loops, is this attempt to control uncertainty, right? We just, as human beings, we cannot bear uncertainty. We can't. It's too frightening to not know what's going to happen. So we fill it in, paradoxically, with the worst case scenario. It's like the devil we know. Okay, so rather than not know, rather than say there's more to be revealed, we don't know what will happen. We go ahead and answer that question, and then the uncertainty is taken care of. And again, it's mistaken, this attempt, in that the only thing we really guarantee when we do that is to inject fear into this present moment. That's the only thing we're really guaranteeing that we can do. And, we're also, I would say, we're guaranteeing that we're going to get to live the disaster once, for sure. I'm not going to miss out on that opportunity. Maybe twice, although it's never going to come in the disguise that we've created in our mind, the narrative we're telling ourselves, but we'll certainly get to live it once. So those are the only things that we really succeed in making certain. And, I can say with 100% certainty that I've been practicing therapy for 30 years, and I've never had one person who said, oh, I'm so glad I worried about that all that time. That was so helpful. I was so ready when that came to pass. So it's not a useful technique, this sort of chronic worrying. And I want to say too, with a lot of compassion for our attempt to take care of ourselves, that it comes from a good place, the worrying. It does. But I was interested, and that's part of why I wrote this book, in what is helpful. What does help us when we are frightened, when we are living in a state that is uncomfortable? We need, as human beings at this time, tools. We need tools. You see that, anxiety is the number one reason people are entering therapy. I have 2 children, and I've never seen a generation this riddled with anxiety. I've never seen a generation of grown women, my own dear friends. And we need some kind of spiritual practice, or we need some, as I said, strategies and tools to live in this very strange cyber world, and to stay grounded to what matters, and to self-compassion, and to each other. And we're kind of floating around in this atmosphere that is really untethered. So you're not alone, as we can see. we're all feeling that. So some of the tools that I like to work with, and I want to leave time at the end for questions, because it's not just about me talking about it, it's what you're really actually wrestling with and what helps. But first of all, if I'm looping and I am kind of trapped there down the rabbit hole in the catastrophizing, has any of this actually happened? Has any of this actually happened? Is any of this real anywhere outside my head? What I'm living right now, what I'm going through, what I'm looping on? Or if I were to get off this train, would it literally go poof? Am I recreating kind of the fear and the experience again and again? Is any of it already happened? Right? I have a dear friend who loops on nuclear war. Has it happened? So let's step off the train. And number 2, have I done everything I can that's in my control to keep this from happening, to make this better? Have I done everything that I can control and still be well? So it's not just, well, yes, I could live on a mountaintop and I could do all that, but have I done everything that I can do that works in a way with my life and who I am? And if I have, am I willing to set this down? Right? Am I willing to say that's all I can do? It's a serenity prayer kind of thing. If you know the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And that is the piece where, okay, I have to get very real. If there's more I can do, if I feel like writing letters, or if I feel like I don't want to fail the test, so have you studied enough? If I'm terrified of disease, are you living best you can with healthy choices? Or are you exercising? Are you doing these sorts of things? So first is very sort of boots on the ground, concrete, in what am I doing? My part. Okay, now I can say I have, and I've thought this through enough times, 600, 700,000 times through down the rabbit hole, and that's as much as I can do. That's not actually helping. So we want to get very real about that, and get real about, is this worrying, this chronic worrying, this addiction to worrying, is it helping me or hurting me ultimately? And if it's hurting me, am I willing to stop? And I say that from the most loving place, to just stop, right? And to bring that kind of voice into our inner dialogue, which is, it's okay, sweetheart. It's okay to set it down. It's okay. Am I willing to stop terrifying myself all the time? Stop reminding myself of all the terrible things that can happen. And moving forward, am I willing to accept that the only thing I know is that I don't know? That's the only real truth, right? I can say this disaster will happen. I can do unicorn and rainbow approach, kind of the self-help approach. If it's going to go great, it's going to be fine, all that, all story making. all narrative driven. If you're going to make up a narrative, make up a good one for sure. But if we abstain from a narrative and we can just get our feet on the ground with the only thing I know is I don't know, am I willing to really feel that? And not go one step further, not 5 minutes into the future, not 5 minutes into the past. And if I can really accept that, then I have to be willing to accept also that the best thing I can do about my future is to take care of this present moment. It's all I got. And that requires a certain amount of trust that if I take care of each present moment as it comes, that will lead to a future, hopefully, that I won't. But that's our only real place of entry. So am I willing to come back to this present moment, drop back down into the body, drop back down into what am I seeing, hearing, feeling, my sensations right now, what's happening in my world now. And there is that piece too of great self-compassion in, sweetheart, talking to yourself. The only thing you need to manage is this moment. You don't have to manage the conflict with, when, I don't know, a client was talking this morning about, well, we're going to go outside our door and not be able to breathe. The oxygen will be, or we've got lots to pick from. But sweetheart, manage just this. Just this. I don't even want to go to the full day. Let's not even say only today. Let's say this moment. I have a woman, she's going through a divorce after 25 years. She's obsessing about when her husband won't be able to bring down the laundry basket. Just this moment. Just this moment. It's such an act of kindness towards ourselves, particularly when it's things are feeling particularly unstable. And there's another tool that I really like to use too, which is to reframe the worry. So it's not create a new narrative, but it's reframe it in what is it we're afraid to lose. So when we are worrying and obsessing, underneath it, there's gratitude for something. And we're usually worried about losing something we love. And so we can just pivot a little bit with the gratitude for what we have now. That's the truth. If we're worrying about losing it, we have it now. And that's, again, such an act of self-kindness in, oh, but it's here now. And so much of our worry thoughts, our looping, is taking us again to a place where we won't have it, right? I said when I was younger, I had young children in the playground, and a friend of mine, I would always go to the playground with her, and she would always talk about, but they're going to be out of the nest. Meanwhile, they're like falling down toddlers, and what we're doing is kidnapping our present moment, robbing ourselves of, it's here now. It's here now. So can we dive into that? And why are we afraid? What are we afraid of if we cannot just live in that? What are we afraid of to let ourselves sink into the uncertainty and the reality of life changing and the truth that it is in flux. And right now we have this. So, always in our toolbox, right? In the last ditch, 11th hour, we've got that word no. I alluded to it before, but it's the no of no to our own mind. No, you cannot terrify me. No, right? To really turn sometimes all the sort of diving into the compassionate perspective and that empathy for one's own sort of the truth of uncertainty is too much of a challenge, and we have to turn directly in a very fierce way at our mind that is relentless of reminding ourselves what if, stop it. We can talk directly at our mind with that kind of disciplinarian attitude. So I know that you're going to go into breakout rooms and discuss some of these things. There's some ideas that, you know, maybe from this have bloomed, but I'd love to have you work with, if there is a situation for you that you are kind of looping on, a worry, a situation. And if you could try some of these strategies of asking yourself, is there anything else you could do? Anything else in your control that would keep you well? Right? It's not the mountaintop. It's not all those things, so that you could still be well, that you could do. Okay, so let's name that. Maybe it's I need to study more for my test, or maybe I'm not eating that healthy. But if it's not, if there's nothing else that you can do and it's out of your control, then what would it take for you to set it down and to take care of just this present moment, right? What would you need to be able to attend to now? And I would also like maybe for you to spend some time talking about, are you willing to accept that the only thing we know is that we don't know? And what comes up for you in allowing yourself to live in the question, live in the more to be revealed. Come back to this present moment. I don't know. The future is unfolding and becoming what the future will be. It's changing in every moment, depending on the present moment. So am I willing to accept not the positive narrative, not the negative narrative, but just to live in I don't know? And you might, as a last thing, also consider, you know, are there better ways to take care of what is a really legitimate kind of worry right now about our stability and the changeable nature and all the news that we're being flooded with? Is there a better, more effective way to take care of ourselves, rather than reminding ourselves of what's frightening and then trying to fix it or solve it, or do nothing with it, just keep re-rehearsing it? So work with those. I would also say, just to kind of on a very practical level, I think at this time, we have to be extra mindful about what are we ingesting, what are we taking into our consciousness, what are we agreeing to absorb? Because, you know, if we sit there and watch certain stations or do certain things, take in certain kinds of media and so on, you know, it goes somewhere. It infuses our unconscious, our body, our cells with fear, and with, you know, cortisol gets kicked off, and then that has its own loop, and so on and so on. So we have to be a bit fierce these days about what we allow in. And it's okay to say, I don't want to hear about that. It's okay. I say that all the time. I don't want to hear about that right now. And people often will come back with, well, you have to know what's the truth. You know, you can't live in a hole. You know what? I'm actually in charge of what I want to hear. So wonderful. I'm glad you have that experience. It's not my experience. So onward we go. But to be, you're allowed to control the boundaries of your consciousness. So be careful with that, and be around people too who are not chicken littles, if you can help it, if you don't live with them, which some of us do. See if you can surround yourself with people that want to be part of the solution of whatever the fear is, or to be around people that make you feel grounded and hopeful and calm, you know, calm, peace, right? Because looping on what's terrifying, if what you want is peace, looping on what's terrifying you, it's like trying to open a lock with a banana. It's the wrong tool. Rehearsing it, going through it again, will not take you to peace. You will suffer. So know that as an act of great kindness, avoid the loop, keep yourself with people that keep you calm. Our company is so incredibly important. And come to community where we're all living this together. When we're very anxious, we tend to feel alone, again, untethered, lonely. And we have to come together with shared hearts, shared minds, and so on. So I'm going to leave it there for now. I would love to hear your where you are with this. I can only bring my voice, and we'll go from there.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much. I think following your prompt, it would be great to focus in on what's a current challenge that I'm struggling with now, and what would it take for me to be able to either move through or let go, to be able to kind of step down in our own nervous system. So I think that's a great prompt to go into the conversation with our small group. And the invitation is to share your name, where you're coming from, and a little bit of your challenge and what it would take to experience a shift around this particular issue. So in this small group, we don't want to share the thing that's an absolute 10. It's like the most important thing, or the thing that's like, I went to the grocery store, the thing on the one. Try to find something in the middle. Try to find like something between the 3 and 7. We all have them. If you don't have one, you can borrow one of mine. And yeah, we'll just enjoy this time together. This is where the magic happens. So please enjoy the time together, and then we'll come back and have a little Q&A with Nancy. So let's give it 15 minutes so that we have a good 10 minutes at the end, to have a little bit of a further conversation. So enjoy the time together, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes.